And welcome to this evening's meeting of South of the Borough Neighbourhood Committee here at the Hook Centre. A particular warm welcome to those members of the public with us tonight and to those watching online. My name is Councillor Lorraine Dunstone and I'm the chair of this committee. In the event of an emergency, the emergency evacuation procedure is to leave by one of the fire exits and gather in the car park alongside this building. Anyone requiring assistance should remain in their seats and an officer will assist you from the building. Anybody who wishes to follow the agenda from their tablet or smartphone can do so by going to www.kingston.gov.uk and follow the links from your council on the homepage, then council meeting calendar, and you will find this meeting on today's date in the calendar. There is free Wi-Fi for anybody wishing to follow the agenda on the council's website. For anybody wishing to follow the agenda tonight here or remotely, it's available by following the links on the council button. This meeting is being filmed for broadcast on the council's YouTube channel, and an archived version will be available to view on the channel shortly after this meeting finishes. The broadcast will be suspended during any adjournments in proceedings and if the committee resolves to consider information as exempt business. Members are reminded that microphones must be switched on and spoken into clearly for the broadcast. The microphone for public speakers on the desk here in front does not require switching on. Please can everyone present in the meeting also ensure that their mobile phones are switched off or in silent mode for the duration of this meeting. I will start by inviting members to introduce themselves. So if I start on my right-hand side, thank you. Yeah, you start, yeah.
Good evening all, my name is Shaq. I'm Councillor for Chessington South and Morden Rushet.
Hi, good evening. Andreas Kirsch, Councillor for Chessington South and Morden Rushet.
Good evening, Griselda Skirs, Councillor for Chessington South and Morden Rushet.
Good evening, Afi Afilaka, Councillor for Uken Chessington Northwood.
Good afternoon, my name's Sue Ansari, I'm a councillor in Hook and Chessington North.
Good evening, Helen Grocott, Councillor for King George's and Sunray Ward.
Turned off. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Hook and Chessington North Ward. We also have officers in attendance who will present reports and I will introduce them at relevant agenda items. So we'll go to item 1, public questions. We have a period of no more than 30 minutes during which any resident of the borough or representative of organisations operating within the borough, other than members of the council, may ask questions on matters relevant to the committee. We like to encourage questions to be submitted in advance so that officers have an opportunity to answer them, although that is not absolutely necessary. Please keep your questions as concise as possible, and if you need to preface them with the question with a statement, please be very brief and to the point. Okay, so I'll pass to, we've got a question from Ian Davidson. If you'd like to come to the front, thank you.
Yeah, my question relates to the proposed Hook Park development. And the question is, what are the implications for the approval process of having or not having an updated local plan in place?
Thank you. As you were able to present the question, we've had an response from the Director of Planning and Regeneration. Whilst important, the planning decision-making process is not solely reliant on the local plan. Kingston's current planning policy position comprises the National Planning Policy Framework, or the NPPF, the London Plan and the borough's core strategy adopted in 2012. Over past years, Kingston has not been able to meet the housing targets set in the London Plan of 964 homes per annum. In addition, the council is not able to demonstrate a 5-year housing land supply. Development sites identified to meet housing need. As required by the government, Kingston's current position demonstrates a 1.4-year housing land supply, which means Kingston's decision-making is in what is referred to as the tilted balance. a mechanism under the MPPF that triggers a presumption in favour of sustainable development, meaning permission should be granted unless adverse impacts significantly and demonstrably outweigh the benefits or protected assets explicitly indicate refusal. That's the answer that I've received.
Okay.
Thank you. Next question from Sue Davidson. Thank you.
Hi all. Why has a decision on the proposed Hook Park development apparently been delayed by up to 6 months? Is this due to a lack of resources within the planning department, or is RBK awaiting the issue of the new national planning policy framework?
Thank you, Sue. Once again, I've had a response from the Director of Planning and Regeneration. The Hook Park proposal has not been delayed. It is currently being assessed as part of the normal process for a large major planning application. Frequently, and in this case, there is an agreed planning performance agreement in place which sets out a programme for the review, assessment and determination of the application. The agreement also includes an anticipated committee date. The department has recently had resourcing issues which are now resolved, and the case is assigned to a very experienced principal planning officer who, along with our head of planning, are currently evaluating the proposals and discussing this with the applicants and their agents.
Right, thank you. Does the head of planning say what that provisional date is, or not?
Not at this stage, no. She
Right,
hasn't
okay,
given
but
us that.
about 6 months.
That's what I was informed.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, the worry is that the new NPPF will be in place by then, and that will have to be taken into account. But yeah, okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Next question I have is from Mr. Robb.
Good evening. Happy New Year to you all. On the meeting on the 5th of November, our leader said that RBK are looking at implementing Article 4 for HMOs. Can you give us an update, please, where you are implementing that thing? And also, there is concern because contracts were exchanged today with the council on a house in Compton Crescent, 4-bedroom house, and we hope that obviously it won't become an HMO. But if it does, we know where to come, because obviously...
Mr. Robb, I will not accept comments like that.
Okay,
I know
fine.
you've said that before,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that you do not actually say that. We don't know what's going to happen to it.
No, that's your answer,
thank
isn't
you.
it? You don't know, yeah. But it is... okay. So, yeah, can you give us an update of where the procedure is for Article 4?
Councillor Cash, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Robb, for your question. On Article 4, as I said in November, this is work in progress. It's quite a lot of work required, and it's at the moment going alongside with the local plan. Our aim is still, the government has set a deadline. If you want, under the old framework, to hand in your local plan, you need to be ready to hand it in by December 2026. This is the end of this year. So that's what we are aiming at the moment with our local plan, to hit that deadline. And the work is going alongside with Article 4 with the local plan. We explore if we might use additional resources, with obviously resource implication to speed up the Article 4 work, but definitely it's going at the moment alongside with the local plan and should be finalised latest at the same time if we are not making a decision to speed the process up. Further to what you alluded to, we are in an active houses crisis in the country, in London, and Kingston isn't immune to that. We have as a council a duty to house everybody who is not voluntarily homeless, and that's the right thing to do so. That means that we have a lot of people who live in temporary accommodation, which we have a duty to house. And at the moment, or not at the moment, the Conservative government, when they still have been in power, done changes to the landlord rules. So many landlords left the sector and have exited their deals they had with local authorities across the country for temporary accommodation, because it wasn't worth for them to have the deals with local authorities any longer. And so since then, for all London councils, we're spending 700 million on temporary accommodation a year at the moment across London. This has never been before since that change from the Conservative government. It's a real crisis for people, so a lot of people are also at the moment across London, across the country, in bed and breakfast or in hotels, because we don't have enough homes. As I was saying, the landlords have exited the market. And so it's not just more expensive for councils to use the hotels. It's also, if you look at, from a people perspective, if you're a family, it's great having a home, having a roof over your head. But if you live as a family in a hotel, there's not much privacy, if you have children and do your homework or how children go along with each other if it's a bigger family. There's also the issue, you can't really cook in a hotel. You have no cooking facilities. So we provided a couple of community kitchens in our borough to help our residents who are struggling there. So the property you mentioned has been bought by the council for temporary accommodation. It will not be turned in an HMO. And apart from that, HMOs, with all the language out there, I wanted to make a case. HMOs, it's not a big increase. We have the data in Kingston. There's a steady increase over the last 10 years. There's nothing to worry about. HMOs are used by different people for good reasons. Young professionals living in HMOs. A lot of people, they can't afford anything else than an HMO. For them, it's a lifeline. It's their home. It's their life. We have vulnerable people in our borough as well, for which we are housing in temporary in HMOs, which is only the only option for them as well. So I would kindly ask to refrain to demonize residents who live in HMOs. If there are antisocial behavior issues or other things, like with any other neighbors on our webpage, if everybody checks, we have guidance for all HMOs. If there are any issues, people can report them to the council, and the council checks and sees if there's anything which we need to deal with. But any language around residents in HMOs, I think it's a disgrace if you classify or demonize people. It's ordinary people, ordinary residents who have good reasons why they live in an HMO.
Councillor.
I object to saying we're demonising. We are concerned because, and we're concerned about the ones that aren't regulated and don't need the planning permission. That's what we're on about, is getting those covered. Because we had one opposite us actually, so I won't go into it, but it wasn't good because the people. But having said that, I think you're wrong. If they're decent people and they.
Do you have a supplementary question? Sorry, Mr. Rob.
Yeah. Well, next question. Yes. Right.
Yes, please.
Right.
Thank you.
We did try and ask the council to bring in a PSPO, which is a public spaces protection order, particularly for dogs. Now, the answer we got was that we don't think there's a need for it in the RBK. Since that meeting, a dog has been savaged and killed by 3 dogs, and probably by some of you know. And what we're saying is maybe Richmond have got PSPO and Sutton have got it. The borough, and they're all the same sort of. They're all liberal. Why is it always Kingston that's always last and has to wait till something happens before they implement something?
Thank you, Mr. Rob. We're fortunate to be joined here this evening with Kavintha Krishnan, who's part of our community safety team. I'm going to pass to her for a response. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. Apologies, I'm just using my phone because my notes are on my laptop, which is connected, so that's why I'm reading through here. Just to answer your question, Mr. Rob, so PSPOs can be introduced in specific public areas where the local authority is satisfied on reasonable grounds that statutory conditions and legal tests have been met and justifies the restrictions being imposed. The council needs to provide a solid evidence base and rationale that sets out how the statutory criteria for each of the proposed restrictions have been met and demonstrates a direct link between the antisocial behaviour and PSPO being proposed in the response. There's an additional geographical area determination that we need to look at in terms of what that order covers, which means identifying what is proportionate in the circumstances and restricting activities only where necessary and where it meets the legal test. There's also a consultation element, which is mandated, and that is usually with our police, local police and crime commissioner, any occupiers of land within the affected area, and appropriate community representatives. And the council would also need to consult dog law and welfare experts, for example, vets, kennel clubs, animal welfare officers, and organisations affected by the restriction, before seeking PSPO relating to dogs. You mentioned around sort of other boroughs who have PSPOs in place around dog control. So PSPOs in those boroughs replaced 3 separate orders, and these were the designated public spaces orders, gating orders, and dog control orders. So where areas already had these orders in place, they were automatically replaced by a PSPO, and most have continued to extend them. Kingston did not or does not have a dog control order in place at that time. So in terms of actions, we have started looking at what evidence we have available regarding the nature and impact of any ASB relating to the control of dogs in public spaces, as this will help to inform the Council's views as to whether the requirements are being met and fulfilled, and the evidence will need to be presented to our legal team before the Council can determine whether or not it is appropriate and proportionate to introduce a PSPO. We're also planning to do some early engagement with partners and stakeholders, which can be useful in understanding the nature of the issue, how best to respond, and if an order is proposed, how it might be drafted. This will require involvement and pooling of information from a variety of sources, including councillors and officers from across the council departments, including community safety, environmental health, parks, legal, police colleagues, and external agencies. But we are also keen to speak to local interest groups and as part of our early engagement. So we are aware, Mr. Robb, that you run Dog Watch, and we were wondering if you would be interested in engaging with us in these early stages, and if so, we will make contact with you.
If I could just mention, but maybe the first place to start, because cattle are going to be introduced in February, is Tolworth Court Farm. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Robb, you've got another question?
No, the last one is
We're going to sort out.
later on. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Mr. Robb, did you want to ask your community safety team question now, or leave it until that point? Lovely.
Are we allowed to ask questions after the presentation?
Yes, you will. Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely, I'm happy to allow that. Right, so we'll go to item 2, petitions. There's no notice of intention to submit a petition. Nothing has been received. Item 3, apologies for absence. Kevin, have we got any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Bainan sends apologies.
Thank you. Item 4, declarations of interest. Members are invited to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or any other registrable or non-registrable interests related to items on the agenda. Do any members have any interests they wish to declare? No, thank you very much. Item 5, minutes. Can members agree to confirm the minutes of the South of the Borough Neighbourhood Committee meeting held on the 5th of November 2025 as a correct record? Agreed. Thank you. I'll sign those minutes at the end of the meeting. Item 6, we'll go to a TFL update. We're just going to move chairs around, sorry. Thank you very much for coming along this evening. We have James Keeley and Jonathan Baggs here to provide any TFL updates they may have, and also to be here to answer any questions that members and members of the public have. So I'll pass over to you, and then if you're ready, then when you're ready, we'll go to questions. Thank you.
Is this on now? Lovely stuff, lovely stuff. My name's James Keeley. I am an engagement officer within the local communities and partnerships team at TFL, and I help cover stakeholder issues in Kingston. And I've brought my colleague with me, Jonathan Baggs.
Hi there, folks. My name's Jonathan Baggs. I head up the South London team within local communities and partnerships, so overseeing relationships with boroughs, community groups across 11 South London boroughs, including yourselves.
So I just wanted to start our update with a update on Hook Rise South development, which I'm certain is wanting to be discussed today. I just wanted to give a bit of a recap. So last year, borough officers, councillors and myself, we went on a site visit to Hook Rise South to look at the parking provisions and the issues relating to outside the new developments that are affecting residents on Hook Rise South. And essentially from that, Younes, who was the borough officer, gave some suggestions, and I took that further to internal departments within TfL, so the investment planning team, and from that, so the meeting originally occurred in the summer, and I admit that the councillors have been they've been waiting a little while for a response. And I responded to them in October in regards to what the engineering team said, which was that essentially the road is almost like an anomaly in that it's like it's a TfL-owned road because it's a service road to the A3, and as such, the restrictions we have on it, like the surrounding roads are all borough roads, so the rules regarding that are a little different because we own the road. So essentially, if we wanted to make any scheme changes, it would have to be part of a wider group of A3 service roads considered all together rather than that singular road, which is disappointing to hear. So what we did, we also spoke to the spatial planning team within TfL recently, because when Signal Park developments were originally built, they would have had to submit a plan application, which includes a section 106. So we looked into that, and essentially there is a obligation within the section 106 that states that if there are any, sorry, let me just look at the specific notes here. It includes an obligation for a parking monitoring survey covering the wider estate area, reflecting the potential for parking displacement, which includes Hook Rise South. So essentially, we're working with the borough currently to sort of look into doing a baseline survey to sort of determine root cause. Now, I know from speaking to the councillors, because the councillors raise this with me a lot, it's an issue that they are very passionate about solving, and there's anecdotal evidence that it's regarding the new developments. People, it's a car-free development. People are parking their cars in the area, and it's sort of, well, we can't be having that. But we need to have a baseline survey to determine exactly what the best route forward is, because the cars are here, and essentially, if we were to take a more direct approach, aka preventing any cars parking there, it would cause displacement within wider roads, which is more of an issue for the borough. So really, we need to do these baseline surveys, and we're taking action. And I appreciate that councillors have been waiting a while for this response, but that's why we're here today. Okay. Should we take a Q&A on that, or
I'm
do
happy
you
to.
want me to carry on?
I'm sure there'll be questions or comments on that. Can I pass over to you first of all, Councillor Brocott?
Thank you. So Hook Rise South is in King George's and Sunray Ward. Thank you, James, for the update. You're right, we have been waiting a very long time, and we haven't had any responses that were satisfactory in that time that we were waiting either. So neither us nor residents had any feedback. You've mentioned one of the issues we raised with you at that site visit and in multiple emails since, which is parking along the specific stretch outside of Hook Rise, outside of Signal Park. And you've mentioned that there was anecdotal evidence and the parking survey that needs to be carried out. So that's one issue. The other issues that we spoke about were speeding along Hook Rise South, and the fact that it is still 30 miles an hour, not 20 miles an hour, as you've mentioned, not commensurate with the rest of the residential roads, and not, as far as I understand, in keeping with the agreement in relation to Signal Park, that it was going to be reduced to 20 miles an hour. So speeding is the other issue, and when we met, there were a number of issues related to speeding and road safety that we raised with you. And as you're aware, there was an accident along there a couple of months ago, which I copied you into, and we raised this with the police directly as a response of speeding, which we were warning you about when we had the site visit. So that's the second issue we'd like feedback on. The third issue is not just about parking outside Signal Park, it's about the parking along the whole length of Hook Rise South, and residents who have talked to us about this on the doorsteps and in emails, that their driveways are being overhung by people who are parking inconsiderately. So it's not just parking in that tiny stretch. The fourth issue that we talked about with you is the litter along the length of the road, and the responsibility that TfL has to keep that litter free, not just to ensure that the gullies are clear when we have downpours like this, but also because of the unsightliness in terms of the neighbourhood and not wanting it to appear somewhere that is neglected. So if you could answer those three other points, and then later on we'll talk about the flooding in the underpass.
So just in regards to the speeding, there are plans in the future to make that service road 20 miles per hour. Originally, we wanted to look into fitting in scheme changes along with that 20 miles per hour, but that hasn't elapsed yet. So, but we've still committed to looking into making the road 20 miles per hour.
Can I ask what that actually means, and what time frame you're committed to what exactly, and by when?
I can't give a specific time frame, but we're looking into making all these service roads on the A3 20 miles per hour. I'll have to come back to you with specific dates as to when we plan to achieve that.
So please, can I ask, what other service roads are you joining in with Hook Rise South? Are the service roads in Kingston or in a wider geographical area?
Just off the top of my head, I believe there's 6 service roads on the A3 that we plan. I'll have to write back a more significant response that we can print in the minutes here. What road specifically? Okay.
Can I just make one comment for me? One of the things that didn't come up, and I know Councillor Grocott mentioned it, but the biggest thing for me is the safety down there. I know members of my family and I know residents in the area that actually will not drive down there anymore because it is too dangerous. And I think whilst I appreciate the obligation to monitor the parking and sorting out the speeding, there is a big safety issue down there, and I think it really needs to be highlighted how important it is that we need to get that road sorted quickly. So, yeah, I'd just like to add that comment.
No, I appreciate there are issues with the road. When the plan application was first submitted, I believe 2018, 2019, it was subject to consultation, and TfL did make a comment regarding displacement of cars and essentially suggested that in case of X we must do Y, and in this case it's baseline surveys to monitor the parking. So we just have to go through the steps first before we take further action. We just have to go through the steps before we action further.
Okay, can we speed those steps up because X has now become Y? Thank you.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Grocott, you had another question, I think, did you want to?
Yes, thank you. So, sorry, James, what about parking along the length of Hook Rise South, not just the section outside Signal Park?
Well, I referred to the whole stretch of road on the TfL. We'll look at the whole road as a whole. That stretch in particular, as well as the stretch outside of the houses as well.
Thank you. So the second issue generally is around the flooding that continues to be a hazard both to school children travelling to and from Southborough and Tolworth girls who use the underpass every day and who can't when it's raining. My daughter goes to Tolworth Girls, and in the last couple of months there have been repeated times where the school has actually approved lateness due to the multiple times the underpass is flooding. Obviously, there are commuters who use it to get from one side of the A3 to the other. Myself and Councillor Dunstone spoke repeatedly about this with your predecessor, Catherine, who was able to put some plans in place. And previous to that, Councillor Dunstone has been campaigning on this issue for 14 years prior to the last 4 years. So that's 18 years that we have been trying to work with TfL to get a solution for the residents, and we're still not there yet. So if you thought we were upset about Hook Rise South, we're even more upset on behalf of the residents about the flooding that continues to happen in the underpass. Now, the last thing that happened with your predecessor, Catherine, was that she had spoken to the engineers. They had, for some reason, decided against the idea to put a cover over the underpass to stop the surface rainwater from flooding into the underpass on the grounds that it would cause issues for people coming down, sight line issues for people coming down Fuller's Way South, who is going onto the A3. You don't go from Fuller's Way South onto the A3, so we weren't quite sure what that was in relation to that comment. Since then, sensors, we have been told, were put into the underpass to tell engineers once it had flooded. And we were told that once it had flooded and was impassable, those sensors would then be triggered because the water level would rise and engineers would come very quickly. I'm not sure, because I couldn't get an answer about what time frame and what SLA's, service level agreements, were around that very quickly time frame, but I can tell you it's not happening. And I can also tell you that from the residents' point of view, having sensors that tell TfL once it's flooded is not a very helpful preventative action, because it's then impassable and unusable. So we want to understand what preventative measures you're going to be able to put in place. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Well, this is a topic we discuss with the borough often, because we own the drains infrastructure underneath it, but the cleaning of the subway it belongs to Kingston. But the idea is that we're working with officers, TfL and the borough, to ensure that this happens as little as possible. I understand we're putting in preventative measures in terms of monitoring and things like that. I will re-raise it to see what further we can do. Yeah.
So when you say we're putting in preventative measures, you mean the things that already have been done?
Yeah, but I'll ask what more can be done in terms of monitoring. But really, what the issue is that essentially when it rains, the detritus and like muck gets into the drains, blocks the drains, and then that's what causes the flooding.
I'm afraid I have to interject there. That's not what causes the flooding. We have raised this as councillors with our Viola cleaning team, and having walked under there frequently myself and the residents, who are very good at informing us, that is not the issue. So you really do need to hear that, TfL. It's not an issue that's caused by by RBK not cleaning up the litter and blocking the drains. It's really not. Excess water comes from overspill and surface water because the drains aren't managed properly. I know that the A3 was recently looked at and the drains were recently looked at, but in the recent rain, it's still flooding. The water comes from the A3 and goes down onto the underpass. So it's not because the drains are blocked. So please, can that misinformation be corrected? Because we have been saying that is misinformation for 4 years plus. So it's a bit disappointing that you're coming today and saying that that's the case, because it's really not.
What I'll do is I'll challenge asset op officers with this information, and I'll ask that they provide a response.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, James, just to add, it is the water that comes over from the A3. You can clearly see it on the walls as you walk down to the underpass. The water marks from the water coming over from the A3 it's the pure volume of water that's coming over that's the problem. And the drains, okay, the drains can't cope, but that's not because of the odd crisp packet that a child from Tolworth Girls or Southborough have dropped. That's more than that. It's actually the silt that's coming over with the water that's going into the drains, which that's the problem. Next, did you have the next item you wanted to go through?
I've just got a couple of further TfL updates. We recently installed EV chargers at Tolworth Broadway. They work started in November and they were completed in December. We also had a big community transport tour here a couple of months ago. So we had Seb Dance, the Deputy Mayor of London, come down, and we gave him a tour of the borough along with borough officers and the leader. And then afterwards we met with stakeholders for a roundtable to find out what works well in the borough in terms of transport. Yeah, in terms of other updates, I'm happy to answer any questions that residents may have.
Thank you, James. I'm going to go to members first, and then I will come out to public if that's all right. Okay. Any council members have any other questions for TfL at all?
Yes.
Just go to Councillor Kirsch first, and I'll come to you, Councillor Greycott.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, James. It's not a question. It's just as you mentioned the visit from Seb Dance. I just wanted to go. I was part of that visit as the portfolio order for transport, sustainable transport as well. Was really, we are glad that Seb Dance came and he looked at a couple of issues, and what you referred to the stakeholder meeting was our large employers forum and other organizations like the university and others. We're looking and giving TfL and the Deputy Mayor account what we think we had a good, I think, constructive discussion about what is missing in terms of transport for us in Kingston, for our residents, as well as for our businesses or visitors. So and not everything is in relation to TfL, obviously. If you look at the trains and the frequency of the trains, or if, Kingston obviously is not linked to the tube, all these issues which we have raised. So it was a good constructive meeting. I just wanted to say that again, and as you mentioned it, for the benefit of the residents here and who are watching in, I wanted to give a bit more detail to that meeting. And again, thanks for that opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Greycott.
Thank you. This issue was also raised with Catherine, your predecessor, about the littering along the grass in the middle of the A240 going from Tolworth Roundabout out towards Epsom. We talked about that potentially being a supportive area in terms of the rewilding of Tolworth Court Farm Fields and having that as a wild way in terms of having planting that was linked to Tolworth Court Farm Fields that would support wildlife and increase biodiversity. I haven't had any feedback on whether that issue was taken forward or discussed, but certainly the issue of litter along there is still prevalent. So is there anything you can do in relation to that, please?
I can certainly reopen this further. I'll reopen this further, and at the next meeting I can provide a further update. Or sooner I'll get in touch with you directly.
Yeah. Is it possible to find out what the cyclical programme is for litter clearing along there?
I can certainly find out for you. In terms of litter cleaning, what I'll do is I'll speak to you afterwards about what hotspots there are, and I'll ask that what officers are doing in terms of keeping these spots clean, because it sounds as though there's a prevalent litter issue, and I'm not a fan of it. I better get it cleaned up.
Thank you, James. Councillor Kirsch, come back.
Thank you, Chair. And again, also just for the peace of mind, hopefully for residents from Morden Rushett. They have been in touch with us for quite a while about the safety of the junction in Morden Rushett, where we have the two roads crossing there. I've been in touch with James, and kindly James has agreed that we do a site visit very soon to look at, what we can do to improve the safety of that junction.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to action that and then provide updates further.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go out to the, just write the line. Colin, Rob, Joe, Andrew, Alan. Lovely. Okay, Colin, do you want to start us off?
I was a little confused when Councillor Grocott was talking about the underpass and then children walking along it, and then you mentioned the subway. Is it both? Is it the subways above the A3, and also I know the underpass gets flooded, but were you talking about the subways for the children?
I think we were talking about the same thing, just different wording. So I'll call it the subway.
Subways for
Councillor
people.
Crow's called it the underpass.
Underpass is for cars. I didn't know your daughter was walking along this underpass. So that's the topic. Okay, that's fine. I was a bit confused there. And the other thing is, that's flooded. Yeah, it is. Yes. And the other thing was, I don't know if you have anything prepared. Up at the Ace of Spades, you have a subway there, and one of the sides has been blocked off. And I understand that it was possibly because it was dangerous, the walls were falling in. But somebody mentioned that it means the children walking through, if they're going through the subway, not the underpass, when they go, if they're being assaulted or approached, they've only got one escape route, but they used to have two. But now one's been blocked off, and I understood it was possibly because there was a danger, something's falling apart. Could that not been repaired? You probably don't need to know about that one.
Just off the top of my head, we would have likely closed it for a safety reason, but I'll look into that for you.
It just seemed that you've repaired other places. Why couldn't that have been repaired?
Councillor Rowcott.
I can give an answer. It was because of subsidence. So the wall, the side, one of the walls nearest to the A3 was beginning to subside, and it had to be filled in, as James said, on safety grounds. But it was because of subsidence. Whether that was caused by water from the A3, we don't know, but possibly.
Could that not have been rebuilt? Must have the technology. Anyway,
I will leave that with you, James.
It's probably too late because you fill it with concrete now, so you probably won't be able to do it.
I'll see what our options are.
It's just for the safety of the children, that was all.
For sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Joe Barker, would you like to come? Can you come forward? Can you? You can't. Okay, that's fine. Just yell. Just be quiet. Yeah, just shout.
Yeah, I'm sorry to bring up another safety issue, and I might be wrong here, but in my understanding is TfL is responsible for running 71 buses. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Why are they persistently terminating at Gilders? It's another safety issue. My daughter, a month ago, she had to walk over a mile from Hot Gilders home. That's a residential road. It's very, very quiet. It was 8:39 o'clock at night. Herself and another person were assaulted while walking down that road. And at the same time, a small child, who my daughter reckons was only 9 years old, was also turfed off the bus at Hot Gilders. And it's not fair. They pay their fare. The bus is meant to go to Chessington World Adventures, and they're being persistently kicked off. And this is lone females, children, elderly people, in the rain, in the dark, being chucked off the bus. You know, that bus has got another 5 or 6 stops, I think, and it's terminating at Hot Gilders because it's behind schedule. And I get it, the bus drivers have got to stay on schedule, but this is not fair. It's a massive safety issue to turn children and vulnerable people off in the dark at night up in Hot Gilders, and it needs to stop.
If I can just quickly, just for online, just sort of, sum that one up. So the question is regarding the 71 bus that is terminating early at Cop Gilders and effectively turfing off passengers, whether they be children, elderly, vulnerable, when the bus should be going to Chessington World of Adventures. Thank you.
So I won't be able to give a specific reason why the buses are curtailing, but what I can do is I'll take what's been said today and I'll raise it with the bus planner.
I know what the reason is. It's the bus drivers are being told to keep on schedule, and that's the only turnaround point they have. So if they're running late, they turn around at Cook Guilds, they chuck everybody off and go back, so they stay on schedule. That's the reason for it, but it has to stop, because you're putting people's lives at risk.
Well, what we'll do is we'll look at the route at a wider scale to see what we can do in order to stop these curtailments. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor.
Can I add something to this? So, Joe Barker is absolutely right, and it's not just a quiet residential area, but if you walk through, there's actually forest, and it becomes very, very, very dark. So, and because it is so very quiet, I think the answer that immediately pops to mind, and is the technocratic one, is, well, just wait for the next bus. But the buses aren't frequent enough. So you are standing there in the dark in a very quiet residential area, and you can't get anywhere. And whether you are vulnerable, a lone woman or a child, it can be very, very, very frightening. So if something can be done about this, that would be massively appreciated.
Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I also can only echo what Joe and Councillor González-Kirsch have said. Also, I mean, at least if, you know, in a worst case, and I'm not saying this was the best outcome, but if you start a journey, you believe, you know, you can go until the stop you're supposed to go, you want to go, and Joe mentioned you also pay for it, obviously, but if at least it could be flagged up that a bus early on, you know, if you could potentially look at stopping these, you know, practice that you, in mid-journey, you know, you terminated there, and it happens more frequently. It's not just a single issue, which occurs just once in a blue moon. So if it would be indicated earlier that because of, you know, disruption, you know, the bus needs to terminate at Guilders, then people can in Kingston or wherever they start their journey can make the decision to wait for the next bus. But if they under the belief to end their journey where they expect to, and then if they can't, then obviously they can't change if they're chucked out of Guilders, then they're stuck there. So it would be perhaps if at least we could have something like that as a bare minimum.
Thank you. So you'll come back to once you've had an opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciate all these comments. Safety is critical for our services, and safety of passengers is critical, so we'll be sure to look at this.
Thank you. Mr McKinley, would you like to come forward?
Andrew McKinley from Malden Rushet in the deep south. Just wanted to welcome the fact you're having a site visit to Malden Rushet sometime on the crossroads. But I wonder if you might consider asking Surrey County Council to join you, because the fact is that there's a great hazard to residents using the road to Leatherhead, the road to Hinchley Wood, and the road to Epsom, of which is sort of just half a mile in every direction. And the state of the road is simply appalling. It's treacherous. And I know people up and down the country are saying things are bad, but it would win a prize for awfulness and hazardness. And I would like to think that could be looked at. I also wanted to raise the question of the 465 bus, which is all we have. I'm not sure if it's a TfL provided thing, but there's an obligation to address the mobility of people from Malden Rushet to Kingston and south out of the borough. They've written to us, residents, saying that because of all the extensive roadworks, which I don't want to raise here, but they're a painful fact, the obligation of the 465 to keep to a timetable is now abandoned, and one can understand the logic of that. But what there isn't, so far as I'm aware, this kind of signalling which says a bus is 10 minutes away, and if a bus is cut out 465, even without the roadworks and that frequently, it's an inordinate wait of an hour. And I think that needs to be looked at. So really that's what I was going to say. And obviously I endorse the view of the person about the Cop Gilders turning round bus. That's intolerable and would adversely affect anybody who was brave enough to catch the bus to the zoo to go to Malden Rush. It's pretty awful as it is. So that really does need to be looked at with some urgency, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay.
Yes, sorry, can I just say,
Yes.
we're very happy to look into that. Maybe if I could get some details later about whose roadworks they are, because and who wrote to people locally, just so we've got a better idea.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to have 10 minutes maximum left. So if I can go to Alan Parvett.
Good evening. Yeah, just hopefully 2 questions, not the 7 or 8 that I sent you. So, one that I just don't understand. One's about the size of the vehicles that come along the Hook Road here. They seem to be getting increasingly larger. For anyone, and I know people that live on the Hook Road, I work on the Hook Road, and every 5-10 minutes I have pens, cups shaking on the desk at work all day, every day, especially when the Ocado lorries go past, the buses, all the rest of it. Where I know properties up at 244, 246 Hook Road, they suffer damage, plasters cracking in the hallways. We replaced it last year, the year before. It's cracking again already. It seems to have gone absolutely haywire. I think probably since COVID, that was when Ocado started using it as the cut through between the A3 and the M25, and now everyone's doing it. And I think you need to have some kind of control to reduce the weight and the size of the vehicles that are coming. When they come off the roundabout at Bridge Road, at, pushing up for 30 miles an hour, probably still trying to get 40 miles an hour down there, although they shouldn't. We're all shaking like mad, so I think that really does need addressing, and pretty urgently, because we're seeing property damage. And then the other one, hopefully slightly more festive, but I've been speaking to Lorraine recently about how glum Chessington is becoming over the last few years, and with the lack of Christmas lights, and we hope to speak to Kingston about what can be done about raising some kind of funding. But I think one of the blockers is also TfL not wanting us to put Christmas lights on the lampposts in Chessington. Everywhere else around here has them, and whether you come from Esher or Hinchley Wood or anywhere else, they all have them, and we'd like to get a little bit of Christmas back, really. So see what TfL could consider to let us at least be able to try and fight some funding with Kingston to put something up and stop it being the glum area that it is when it should be happy and festive.
Thank you. And Alan, while you're here, sorry, just quickly, I just wanted to say thank you to you for helping to set up the Friends group in King Edward's and the amount of work that you guys have been doing. So whilst I grab you there, I just want to say thank you for that.
Any volunteers welcome as well. So,
Did you want to come back at all on those two questions?
Yes, very happy to check out the restrictions on the roads that you're talking about. It'd be useful to get details after, just if there are particular properties or areas in the road that are particularly adversely affected. It would be useful to understand.
People raising it on Fitzroy Street and so on, the length from all the up to the A3, really.
Sure.
I mean, it's, yeah.
Okay. In terms of lighting, I don't know the particular reason why there's an issue there. TfL's lampposts and assets are used by local boroughs to put up their Christmas lights all over London. I know particularly, in this sort of area, Malden Town Centre, for example, those are TfL roads near the station there, and we have agreements with the borough that they can use those assets to put up Christmas lights. I don't know if there's a particular issue in Chessington with those assets that's been discussed before, but the principle is we're accepting of it. So if there are some issues that we need to work through, then hopefully we can do that.
We'll hold you to that.
Well, sorry, my point was we do it elsewhere. I don't know if there's a particular issue with those
I don't know what that issue
lights.
is. We don't get an answer, unfortunately, but we have tried in the past. So it would be really great if you could take that away and find out what that is. That would be lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Mr. Rob.
We hold a TfL liaison meeting, which James comes to, with the large lorries. This time it's not the mayor's fault. There's a committee called the London Council Committee, and they've got a transport committee, and we actually send our portfolio holder for transport to that committee. They decide on the routes for large vehicles. So it's the London Council with their London Lorry Control Committee, London Lorry Scheme Committee, that tell the actual supermarkets what route they can use. So they are being told to use the A243. Now, part of the problem is we've been asking for the height of the underpass on the A3 to be remeasured because when they changed the pedestrian bridge, it went from a straight bridge to a curved one, and we think that larger juggernauts can actually get under the A3, but we can't get anybody to actually remeasure the A3. But it's not. If you want to moan about the large lorries, the juggernauts, it's all down to the London Council. The A240, unfortunately, you've got the Tolworth Railway Bridge. It's 500 millimetres too low to allow lorries. So these lorries can't even go from the Tolworth roundabout onto the Cox's Lane industrial estate. So we need, they've got to look at the 240 and actually maybe dig the road out or something, because we've asked Railway to Network Rail to actually do something with the bridge, and they won't do that. Anyway, that's the reason why the lorries come down there, and I do understand because it's all the big supermarkets, and they're the largest juggernauts allowed on our roads. Now, Joe came to us, Residents Association, about the 71 terminating. I actually emailed James about it, and I also copied in the MD of First Bus as well. So they are aware of the situation. And I have to agree, because I go on Saturdays to get my fish and chips from the Gilda's Fish Bar, and that bus stop, although it's got a street lamp on there, is in total darkness. And it is very sort of unnerving. So you are totally aware of the issue as it stands already. So I'll resend you the email, and I'll copy in the councillors as well. I'm not copied in before. So Joe did tell us, and we did act on it. But again, it sort of goes into this black hole that's in Blackfriars somewhere, you know. My last thing is, I know you've got 10 minutes, is we had the fiasco of the EV chargers being put into the Acer Space slip road. There was no communication, no consultation from TfL, and things haven't got any better at all, because I got a letter the other day, 2 days before, okay, the situation's not so bad, you're putting new height restriction boards down the A243. And that's what his letter said anyway. And we heard about it 2 days before we actually started the work. Now, we understand that probably won't be as bad as the closing down of the... but you've got to do something about consultation and communication. TfL are terrible. Well, it's non-existent. James does his best, but he hits his head against the same internal brick walls that we come against with TfL. And as I mentioned to you earlier, we've been asking for years, right from the top down, for someone to come down and to one of our liaison meetings to talk about buses. You know, you're giving us the bus routes that you feel we need, rather than getting the bus routes that we need. Now, we're not asking for new super loops and all this old rubbish. You know, millions being spent on super loops, which are existing routes anyway, with the new name. But we're asking for tweaks in existing bus routes. Now, Andrew mentioned about the 465. Again, we've sent emails to the new contractor for the 465. And before he mentioned the roadworks, and he started, he'd actually negotiated on the contract that they could not go from 30 minutes and stretch it to 35 minutes. You know, so all along, every time they renegotiate a contract, they seem to they don't include us and ask us what we need. They just talk to the bus and give them what they want. So I don't know how to say it. It's so frustrating. You've got to do something about communication. And seeing you're the head of the department, you've got a good guy there, but I feel sorry for him because he's not being supportive to the people behind him, you know. And when you talk... yeah.
You on that one. On the communications, Mr. Rob got that letter about the A243. We didn't. Mm-hmm. So if we're not being advised about things that are going on, how are we supposed to let our residents know? We're here as a tool, really, and we can actually provide that information. But I only knew about it was because Mr. Rob forwarded me a copy of the email.
Yeah, but I'm not having to go at you, James, because you've got a great ambassador there, but he's got to have the tools to be able to carry out his job, and the people behind him in black. And when you told us that Seb Dancer come down here, why didn't he meet the residents' associations? I'm not asking you. I'm asking you, as a manager, why wasn't Seb Dance? Why didn't he invite the residents' associations to talk to him? What about the real problems we've got with TfL? You can't answer that, can you? But anyway, and one last thing, and I will shut up. Right, Catherine McEwen was also excellent, and we know all about the flooding, and there was flooding on the main underpass. You're quite right, but they did actually do a lot of work and a lot of money. They upgraded the pumps and everything else to deal with the floodwater, but nothing was ever done about the pedestrian footway. You know, and you're quite right that RBK is would you believe, has to go and clear the rubbish out off on the A3 because they're liable for the. So we did know about that, but in their defence, I think they did a lot of work on the pumps and that for them, because I don't think it's been flooded since we sent them pictures of it being flooded. I don't think it's been flooded since they put the new pumps in. Is it? Oh well, I'll take that back. But I mean, the actual under the pathway was never looked at, I've got to say. So, I'll shut up, sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Rob. And I don't know if you want to come back on anything on that, Jonathan?
Well, I'm happy to say, so what should happen is any works that we notify people of should be done 2 weeks in advance and should be copied to local councillors. So my apologies that A, it seems the letter went out late, and B, it wasn't copied to local councillors. So apologies, I'll look into that, the team it came from, so I'll look into that further. And I've made a couple of notes from what Mr. Robb said. I'll take those issues away as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming along and standing up against with the number of questions that came up. You can see how passionately everyone feels. Being surrounded by TfL, you know, we do sometimes feel, because we're the pointy bit at the end of London, that we don't always get heard. So we do really appreciate you coming tonight. It would be great if one or both of you would like to come back to the next meeting on the 12th of March with some answers and some responses to some of the questions that we have asked this evening. That would be really helpful. You are free to go if you wish. You're certainly more than welcome. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Right, so we'll move now to item 7. The South of the Borough Neighbourhood Committee Community Safety Update for January 2026, which you can find in the supplement to the agenda pack. Once again, thank you, Kavita, for coming along this evening, and I'll pass it over to you to present the report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And thank you, Richard, for doing the slides. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me today. So I'm Kavita Ramakrishnan. I'm part of the community safety team in the council. And what we wanted to do today was to share a little bit of sort of highlights in terms of what the community safety team and local partnership has been doing. And we just wanted to start first by looking at sort of what adults and young people in the borough have been telling us in terms of feedback which we gathered through surveys and focus groups. So adults identified core issues like antisocial behaviour, drug dealing, theft and violence, including violence against women and girls, and their suggested solutions included providing more activities, an increased police presence, support for victims and offenders, and investment in CCTV and lighting. Young people offered similar feedback, but their priorities focused on taking action in specific locations where crime occurs, along with addressing youth violence, racism, and drug dealing. They suggested improvements in areas where they felt unsafe, increased police visibility, and they specifically asked to be involved in developing the solutions, which is something we've been doing quite regularly with our young people in the borough. Next slide, please. So we're just going to touch on some of our strands, first starting with antisocial behaviour. Next slide, thank you. So we received a total of 399 reports regarding antisocial behaviour between September 2024 and October 2025, though this figure may include multiple reports for the same issue. Reports are most concentrated in Kingston and North Kingston, which includes the town centre, and this is common due to higher population density and more opportunities where ASB could happen, such as large number of businesses and licensed premises. The main report types of ASB are neighbour disputes, drugs, and intimidation and harassment. And police have committed more resources to responding to this rise in antisocial behaviour as well. So just some of the work we've been doing to sort of proactively address antisocial behaviour is we've focused a lot on raising awareness in the community. This has included producing some leaflets and flyers that clearly explain how to report ASB and promoting the ASB case review process. I brought some of that today, so please do feel free to pick them up. We held community stalls and workshops during Antisocial Behaviour Awareness Week and have delivered engagement activities both within the community and local businesses. And crucially, we have promoted the new Met Engage platform, which residents and the Safer Neighbourhoods Board as well. So we have officially adopted the Antisocial Behaviour Pledge, which demonstrates our commitment to all victims of antisocial behaviour. This pledge is essential as it confirms we take ASB seriously and ensures that the needs of victims are central to our response. To strengthen our professional response, we commissioned ASB Help to deliver victim impact training for professionals across Kingston as well. So partnership working to make places safer. Partnership working is really key in community safety, and addressing safety, we believe, is a collaborative effort, and we work with a range of partners to problem solve, support victims, reduce offending, improve safety in known locations of concern, and to keep Kingston safe. So in your area, our works have included casework with victims and partner agencies. We're an active member of the Tolworth Court Farm Committee, encouraging incident reporting and agreeing on actions to mitigate vandalism. And at Chesington Golf Course, concerns about scrambler bikes causing damage were addressed with regular patrols by the local police, Safer Neighbourhoods team, and engagement with the landowner to secure the boundary fence as well. And just at this time, I would just like to highlight the strong partnership work that the council and community safety team have with the police. And just to mention a very big thank you to Acting Sergeant Ollie Shearer for all the work and collaborative work he's been doing locally as well. So the next topic is ending violence against women and girls. This is an umbrella term covering a wide range of abuse, from domestic abuse to sexual assault and public harassment. And while these issues affect everyone, they disproportionately do affect women and girls. So one of the biggest sort of highlights in the last year is that we have developed a co-produced Ending Violence Against Women strategy for the borough, and this was done with our Survivors Forum. And this is really ensuring that services and all of the work that we do is directly shaped by individuals with lived experiences. So the strategy has 4 key priorities, which is around support to survivors, children and young people, holding perpetrators to account, and that violence against women and girls is everyone's business. So we did co-presented this with survivors at our People's Committee in March, and that's when it was officially launched. And you can download a copy of the summary and strategy as well. And our plan is to do a bit of a roadshow across the borough, bringing the strategy into the community as well. We are proudly a White Ribbon accredited council, so we've successfully renewed that accreditation. So White Ribbon is a leading charity that engages men and boys, and their commitment is around never committing, excusing, or remaining silent about male violence against women and girls. And the new White Ribbon Action Plan focuses on lots of things around strategic leadership, engaging men and boys, doing work in schools, and also changing culture and raising awareness as well. To support our White Ribbon Initiative, we had a number of community events and training that took place across the 16 days of activism, which was in November. And there was training both for professionals and also community engagement, and ending with a local practitioner conference that took place in December, specifically looking at the strategy and how we make that more operational in terms of moving that forward as well. Another spotlight that we've been doing this year is working with Silver Project. They specifically support older victims of domestic abuse who are often hidden victims and face multiple barriers to access support. So we have worked collaboratively with them, with survivors and with professionals to develop a toolkit that will support practitioners across the borough in terms of engaging that cohort of people. So that's another sort of vital resource that we have just to make services more accessible. I won't go into detail here, but this is just to give you a snapshot of sort of the extensive support that's available in Kingston Borough for victim survivors of violence against women and girls. They can range from things like Sanctuary Scheme, which is improving security in your home, to specialist domestic abuse workers, to also having sort of a 24-hour national helpline. Of course, if anybody's in immediate danger, we would always encourage you to call 999. But yeah, just to give you a bit of a snapshot there. Just very quickly touching on engagement, I think it's really important to talk about our work with young people, and that's been a real major focus last year, and that has been evidenced by participation in some recent surveys. So we supported the Youth Council in Kingston with 3 different surveys, one around sexual harassment, one around racism, and one around crime and safety, and you can see it was quite a phenomenal response that they received. The key recommendations have been presented to the Head Teachers Forum and to relevant strategic partnership boards. And this has led to some key projects. So the Youth Council are now developing a youth-led conference, which will be targeted at young people in schools, and also will give them an opportunity to connect with decision makers, and the development of a video documenting experiences of racism as well, which they are due to launch very soon. Another highlight in terms of engagement has been we held a successful Strengthen the Community Challenging Hate Crime event in November. So this event was designed to bring services, professionals and communities together to combat hate. We had speakers from CREC and Stop Hate UK who provided information on services, and the workshop really explored how people can become active allies in our fight against hate. And the ideas generated are now being analysed and will be taken forward as well. We continue to raise awareness for hate crime support and initiatives, and that's through our community events. We've also commissioned Stop Hate UK, so we now have a 24-hour helpline for Kingston residents who want some advice, who would like to report incidents of hate crime or get advice on how to report. We're also delivering training sessions to community members in terms of how you'd be able to support victims, and also promoting the helpline. And we have arranged a briefing for councillors. Unfortunately, that had to be rescheduled due to multiple conflicting schedules, so we will be looking to reschedule that in the next few months. And also the community safety team can deliver talks in your community, so if that is something you're interested, if there's specific community groups you'd like us to come to, there's an email address on there that you can contact us as well. And just next slide is just, again, examples of just some information leaflets. Again, I brought those today, so if anybody wants to take some away and to be able to promote that, that would be great. So I'm just very quickly going to touch on training and engagement in the community. So we have been able to sort of support just under 2,000 community members with training sessions and engagement activities between April and October 2025. Next slide, thank you. This is just an example of some of the different sort of community sessions. There was an antisocial behaviour stalls, the White Ribbon Walk. We had a violence against women and girls talk for police cadets. So other sessions covered things like bystander training, which is also available for the community safety team to deliver, and general awareness raising sessions as well. We also conclude the community sessions overview by inviting you again, as I mentioned, to contact the team if you need it, if you want us to come in and talk about any of these topics. We also provided training engagement with professionals, so just over 600 professionals were trained on different community safety topics. So I think the next slide just gives you, again, a snapshot of just some of the really specialist but also complex kind of strands that people have been trained on, you know, things like coercive and controlling behavior, modern slavery, just making sure that everybody is aware about these topics and how we would support victims as well. Lastly, I just want to promote our new community safety survey that's gone live. So we are asking all residents, visitors, staff and students aged 16 and over to share their views about how safe they feel. As you can see, a lot of the work that was done in the last year was as a result of feedback from community members, from various engagement and residents. So we please do encourage that you try and share that within your communities. And yeah, I will stop there.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful and very informative. And as she says, we've got there's loads of leaflets, so please, before you leave, do help yourselves. So if you're happy to take some questions or comments, I'll open it up to the public first. Mr. Rob?
Yeah, our ward panel meetings, which are very good actually, and part of that is due to Sergeant Ollie Shearer. The main issue that comes up every quarter for our priorities is antisocial behaviour. And when you speak to residents, first thing they say is, well, there's not enough to do for the youth in our area. We've got one youth club, which is at Cheshunt, which is oversubscribed, and we actually invited Gary, who runs it for Achievement for Children, to the ward panel meeting, and he said he'd love to run more, but the price of hiring council property and that sort of thing is so prohibitive, they can't afford to run any more clubs. Now, I think it's up to our council to look at what they can do to actually encourage more activities for the youth of our community and stop them getting into antisocial behaviour. So, I mean, I know I have these stupid ideas, but I looked at the burnt-out pavilion at King George's, right? And also then I watched that programme on DOI SOS about the youth club in West Riding. I did ask other councillors to look at it. I don't really do watch it, but I was brought to tears about the way the youth were treated there. And I had some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, with the youth we got here. And I actually spoke to the company that makes the portable buildings in the factory, and they actually make youth clubs that you could actually, if you chose to have one on the King George's Field, and also the unused changing rooms at Church Fields. If we didn't spend money on 43 million on swimming pools, even a little bit of that, we could actually buy two ready-made youth clubs and other community spaces, to be one on Church Fields and maybe one on King George's Field where the burnt-out pavilion is. So we need to look. We can't keep moaning. We need to look at putting some investment into the youth of our communities.
I'll just bring Councillor Grocott in first before I pass over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a factual correction. There is already a youth club run on King George's, in King George's and Sunray Ward at the Sunray Community Centre. That's partly supported by councillors in terms of funding, and that's been running for over a year at Sunray Community Centre. So it runs on a Thursday to make sure that so there's one kind of at each end of the borough. Yeah. I completely agree with you that we could have more, but we certainly do have two, not one, just as a point of correction in our ward.
I'm talking about, it's an anomaly because we actually cover the south of the borough community, not the south of the borough neighbourhood. So we actually we fight against Signal Park because it's part of our Patchwork Residents Association. And
but if we're talking about south of the borough, which is what we're doing tonight, that includes King George's and Sunray.
That's why I wasn't aware. There was
Absolutely.
Our wall, you've got a separate wall panel. We weren't aware. So I apologise. I didn't know about their use.
It's fine. That's absolutely fine.
And that probably is for their estate, right? That's it.
Well, no, it's not. It's not, absolutely. But, you know, it's for all children. Kavitha, do you want to come in and then I'll bring you in if that's all right, Andreas?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for sharing the question in advance. We thought it might be helpful to highlight sort of what we are doing around youth provision and the different support available. So just to flag, the majority, as we mentioned in the presentation, the majority of the ASB reports to the council don't actually relate to young people. So the highest category, as we said, was neighbour disputes, followed by drugs, and then public space environmental ASB. So where reports of ASB relate to young people, the community safety team take what we call a contextual safeguarding approach. So looking at not only the child, but also looking at the space and the environment. And we work quite closely with our colleagues in Achieving for Children and partner agencies to agree a multi-agency response. So this could include things like making changes to the environment, increasing guardianship, or providing additional youth work interventions, things like detached youth work, diversionary activities. Achieving for Children provides a range of services for young people in the borough, as well as provision delivered by the voluntary sector. So we have Oxygen, Street Pastors, Crying Sons, and the Fulham Football Club Foundation. Services are delivered in public spaces, schools, sports venues, and community venues, and a number of our grant applications for youth projects have been successful, securing funding for Kingston Safer Neighbourhoods Board, also from Mayor's Office of Police and Crime, the London Violence Reduction Unit, and also the Met Police. And some of these projects that have been funded are the Project X, who do some targeted youth work interventions, so things like mixed martial arts, music and dance. We have Crying Sons, who are doing community outreach projects with young people. And we also have the Street Pastors, who've been commissioned to do specific outreach around the time that schools are being out. Fulham FC Foundation Kicks project, the Oxygen provides a mentoring project, and there's lots of outreach work taking place as well. And some of that is related to where we are getting reports coming in for specific locations. And also, as we highlighted, we do a lot of work with the Kingston and Richmond Youth Council, really ensuring that voices of young people are part of any sort of work that we take forward. And they obviously have been doing a lot of work with their surveys as well. And in terms of sort of the racism video and different projects. So there is a lot happening in terms of youth provision. And if there are concerns being raised sort of specifically in this area, obviously we're happy to take that back to Achieving for Children and look at that. But I just thought it'd be important to highlight how much.
No, I understand. And you can't really take stats because obviously the different areas probably have different reasons for their ASB. You know, like everything sort of like Kingston, sort of central Kingston sort of thing. But it was Gary from a really nice chap from who went to our wall panel because we like to find out. We just don't talk about things. We got him along and that sort of thing to find out, and he gave us a good presentation. So he was sort of saying that our one youth club is well oversubscribed. You know, so there is an issue. You know, I know you can talk about all the other reasons for it, but there looks like there are our youth would like to go somewhere, but I'm not made this up. Gary told us that it's oversubscribed and he could actually open another youth club and fill it quite quickly.
Mr. Robb, can I just ask Councillor Cash, did you want to come in on this point? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Again, and thanks to Kavita for, she gave a good list what else we do with partners and others, and we support some of these partners and projects to address the youth work. I also, want to highlight that generally local government is under massive financial challenges in this country, and we are proud that we still have youth clubs, and that we have 2, as Councillor Crookhart said, in our borough, and we are looking at what else we can do. Others aren't providing any youth clubs anymore. We are doing it. We are proud to do it. And we look at, I want to challenge that and have a conversation with AFC about rental costs. I don't think that's the issue. It's rather, there is a capacity issue at the site. You only can run the youth club safely with a specific number of children. If you have interest of more, you would need not more space, which isn't there available, but you would need different days where you provide further services. So we're definitely looking into that and to do more. On the church fields, I don't think it's an issue of size. The changing rooms there, it's already in our capital program. In the next couple of years, we want to redo them. I'm not sure if they're fit for a youth club, but we definitely want to bring them into better use and upgrade them. So there is the political will to do more, but we have financial constraints. But we're looking at things, and we're doing quite a lot of things because young people are important to us. And again, I also would like to highlight not making a link between antisocial behavior and young people. That's, again, slightly, in my view, problematic.
But if you come to our ward panel meetings, we know what the feedback is, and it is used in the streets and that sort of thing, and letting off fireworks, and so we do know our patch, and we can tell you that the ASB is used,
Thank you, Mr. Robb. Did you have another question?
No. I think I've got it over.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Any other members of the public that have a question at all? Certainly, would like to come forward and give us your name, if you wouldn't mind, sir. Michael, and what's your surname? Sorry.
Anderson.
Lovely, thank you.
I would like to ask how you're getting on with evicting all the illegal businesses from the proposed Hook Park development.
Okay, thank you very much for that, but we've passed the public questions time. This is about this presentation.
Well, I would have thought that what I'm saying there is of massive importance to every resident of Hook.
But we had a 30-minute public question time at the very beginning. Unfortunately, we won't be able to answer that now. But if perhaps next time we come along, we have between 7:30 and 8 o'clock is for public questions, for questions like that.
Sorry, I've misunderstood.
That's absolutely fine. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Any other questions regarding the community safety? Councillor Kirsch?
Thank you. Just to clarify, I might have misspoken. I said I wanted to say 2 youth clubs, at least in south of the borough. We obviously, in the borough, we have more than just 2 youth clubs. I mentioned what I meant was south of the borough, and we just recently have done a lot of work in Morden, where we have the Dickoridge Youth Club, and improved that massively. And we're looking into family hubs as well across the borough, which are helping as well. And like Kavita said, the contextual safeguarding where we work with people. And the family hubs obviously have a completely different approach, a whole family approach, how you support families and children. But also I wanted to say a huge thank you to Kavita and the team, and say that, publicly in this meeting and for the record, they are absolutely doing amazing work. You saw the presentation. They really help us keeping our borough and our residents safe. A huge shout out to Kavita and the team. So you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thanks. I spoke to 2 of your colleagues recently at the police ward panel that they came along to, and also when I attended the street pastors bystander training. My point was it'd be really helpful if the leaflets that you've got could be maybe put in the community notice boards, because not everybody's going to have an opportunity to see them, so that might be something to highlight. And I just want to say thank you as well for the involvement in terms of the street lights in my ward and making them brighter in terms of resident safety that I think your colleague, your predecessor possibly helped with in terms of getting different funding so that we could get brighter lights for pedestrians. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Gurkhardt. The notice boards, I think that shouldn't be an issue. We should be able to put the leaflets in there. Yeah.
Is it not? I don't know why. Is it on now? Yeah, sorry. I'm flicking, that's why. It's a flicking habit. I hope all colleagues don't mind. I'm going to pass over to item 11 on our agenda now, and then we'll return to community manager's report afterwards. So if we can go, I think, George, I'm going to call you up and bring you up earlier so that I know you've had 3 neighbourhood meetings this week, so... Yeah, no, I think if we can go on to item 11, yes. We're sorted. We're ready if you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. My name's George Vickers. I'm the Principal Engineer for Planned Maintenance for the Kingston Sutton Shared Service. I'm here to present the Planned Maintenance report for the 26-27 financial year. There's also some commentary in it about the street lighting programme, so I will deal with all those points as we go through. The committee is asked to comment on the proposed 26-27 carriageway and footway maintenance programme relevant to the respective neighbourhood, south of the borough in this case, as detailed in Annex 2 of this report, and also the high-level outline list of roads proposed for maintenance using the allocations from the Department for Transport as set in Annex 4 of the report. There's specific notes in section 9 and 10 of the report with regard to street lighting. Key points for the 25 and 26 programmes for carriageways and footways and street lighting. This is detailed in Annex 1 and 3. Annex 2 details the 26-27. Key point C is really interesting. The Council received a notable amount of funding from the Department for Transport in the last year, and recently, following the recent budget in November, the government, through the Department of Transport, has put together a 4-year programme that's got approximately 3.8 million guaranteed funding over the next 4 years from the Department for Transport to spend on highway infrastructure, specifically maintenance of it. And basically that's got an extra on top of that 2.2 million of funding for about approximately just over 6 million in total. The 2.2 million is conditioned based on incentives that we're not party to yet. There was incentive funding element last year which the council received fully, so we've got just over £500,000 added to our usual programme. The list is detailed in Annex 4 of what, from my functions point of view, planned maintenance, we would look to spend that funding on if that was solely awarded to that function, which it will not be the case, basically. Last year it was split amongst structures, street lighting, reactive and planned maintenance. From a point of view of clarity, reactive maintenance is filling in things such as potholes, which I don't deal with, unfortunately. We deal with full width resurfacing, which is slightly more costly, which is why there's greater limits to what we can and what we can't do with the funding that we do get. As noted in key point D, the council's highway network comprising carriageways and footways is one of the most visible and valuable assets the council has, due to the length of it, which is almost approximately 350 kilometres, stretches within the council's public highway boundary. And yeah, it's quite a costly asset in that respect. Looking at the programme, basically we've got 23 roads in total across the borough put forward this year, basically under the council's capital programme. And there's 2 footways that are put forward as well. With regard to the footways, as in previous years, the focus has been on updating or reconstructing what was concrete, artificial stone paved footways, basically with concrete paving flags, and basically reconstructing them in tarmac, which is basically easier to maintain to a better standard. In terms of what's put forward for south of the borough this year, there's only 3 roads put forward, which is due to the fact that over in recent years, whilst we've tried to split it equally amongst the 4 neighbourhood committee areas, increasingly it's having to be split by need, basically. And as per last year, and I appreciate people may want to challenge this point, when you look at it contextually across the borough, there seems to be higher levels of need in some of the other committee areas. Basically, this year's, in this case of this year, the bulk of the money is going towards Kingston, North Kingston, where the town centre has a slightly longer or larger amount of road, basically, and you're seeing higher levels of needs due to the high levels of traffic you see in the town centre. In terms of what we're putting forward for south of the borough this year, we've got 3 roads, basically Green Lane, and it's a section, Garrison Lane to Hunting Gate Drive. Basically, we carry out surveys every year, when my office surveys about 85% of the roads in the borough, and the overall road condition was focused in the worst 15% on survey, with the section we're looking at in the worst 3%. It'll be a tricky section of road to do, which is why we think it's possibly been neglected in the past. So we anticipate that there will need to be a lot of communication up front on this and how it will work. Basically, the surfacing is for the first 200 metres Green Lane. This will take us part of the past the junction of Huntinggate Drive. Sorry, just looking at it, on notes. Extensive aggregate loss was noted with joints opening up and failed pothole repairs, which is an indication basically that the road is approaching. It needs to be dealt with territory, basically. So, I'm happy to take questions afterwards if that helps offer the committee members and basically residents if it comes to it. Second road up that we're putting forward, Somerset Avenue, Hook Road, junction Hook Road to Selwood Road. Expansion joints are opening up and old reinstatements are starting to fail again, which is usually an indication that roads needing attention. Generally poor condition. On the surveys that we carried out last year, the road was in the worst 9% overall, with the worst section in the worst 8% overall, basically. Third road we're putting forward is Thrigby Road, generally focused in and around the Green Lane area, as there was some footway reconstruction there in recent years. Again, you're seeing failing expansion joints, and surface layer is just generally tired, again with like pothole repairs starting to fail. This is continuation of the work that was done in the past when Philby Road was resurfaced. In terms of the 2025 surveys, this was the worst of the three roads we're putting forward. Basically, worst 3% on average condition and on the section. And there's also some roads put forward as provisionals, depending on what we get in terms of the DFT constraints. There was a couple of roads in south of the borough that we'd definitely like to consider, depending on what we've got. There was a couple of sections of Garrison Lane that were flagged, basically, that we feel were deserving of attention. In terms of street lighting, which I don't cover, but I will mention, the street lighting programme is basically being done on structural testing at the moment during the fourth quarter, and it's detailed in sections 9 and 10 of the report. Bear with me. So the council a detailed programme is yet to be developed, so which is why it can be presented with this report. The programme will be developed on a needs basis following a structural testing programme that's been carried out currently, and then basically the higher levels of need will get pulled forward in the programme, basically for implementation during the 26-27 financial year. Happy to take questions if anyone's got any questions on this.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Thank you, George. Okay, so if I can invite comments from members of the public, if you've got any questions on the road plan maintenance. So, Mr. Anderson, do you come forward, please?
Who checks pothole repairs? Because my knowledge on it is,
Yep.
I don't know a huge amount,
Yep.
is that you're supposed to clean the hole out,
Yep.
then paint it with liquid tar,
This.
and then put the tarmac in and
Yep.
smash it down. If you don't paint it with liquid tar, the water goes down there, and then the
Yep.
first time it frosts, it all pops out.
Yeah, this is something that sits within the council's reactive maintenance team, unfortunately, as people, I'll be honest, and this happens at other committees as well, people assume planned maintenance and reactive maintenance are the same thing. And I could understand why people would think that as well. For what it's worth, I spend a lot of time talking to that team and vice versa.
Well, I've watched quite a lot of, they're just smacking the tarmac in and bashing it down.
I honestly couldn't comment on that at all, as unfortunately it's not a function that falls under me and responsibility of my team. But, you know, so it'd be wrong of me to comment further on that,
Save money,
unfortunately.
wouldn't it, if they did it?
Wrong of me to comment, if that makes sense, you know, as I'm not party to their work, so they don't supervise mine. So, that'd be an issue with the council's reactive maintenance team. Thank you.
Thank you. David Phillips, if you'd like to come forward.
Again, just a very quick one. Are there any plans to deal with the dreadful footpaths on Bridge Road in Chessington?
I don't have any information on that, but I could ask the question. That's not a problem. I'd report that back to the chair of the committee, basically. I will be frank, with the council's footway programme, basically, it is predominantly put forward, and I'll hold my hand up, where Realm Shared Service, we look at 800, or I've got responsibility, effectively, for trying to do planned maintenance on 800 kilometres of road, effectively. So I don't know.
It is the primary footpath towards the station.
Yeah.
That I'm talking about.
What I would get at is I don't know if that's got concrete ASP paving down on it at the moment. The council's footway reconstruction programme in Kingston is predominantly focused on the older paving, older footways that have got concrete flags down. So if that is something that could be considered, definitely. Thank you. I don't know if that was the answer you were after, but yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Robb.
There's a lot of talk about lighting, but we had all our lampposts changed out because and the ones we had were quite, there was nothing wrong with them, but they've been changed out because of car charging points. But they put the old, if there's any problems with the light levels, they didn't change the actual light units. I mean, this does seem a bit stupid. You've got this program where you're changing out the whole of the lamppost, and then, you know, they've got an opportunity where you could change the light if it needed changing.
Can I suggest that gets flagged for Naz Islam, who's our street lighting engineer? Basically, it's unfortunate where I cover plan maintenance is literally solely to roads. It's street lighting gets included with the report every year on an annual basis, but unfortunately, again, that's not something that I have direct control over.
It's very dangerous that one department doesn't liaise with the other department when, you know, it's like the utilities digging up a road and, you know, but when someone comes along after you relayed it. You know.
Yes, I'll be honest, we've got a really good, it's probably not the best example, but where we're a shared service, I've had that issue in Sutton specifically where we were reconstructing a footway and we were waiting for the lamp columns to be done, and I made the point, yes, we could reconstruct the footway, but if they're coming along to replace the lamp columns, that's madness, if you know what I mean. So, unfortunately, it was a slightly drawn-out process, but they replaced the lamp columns and we did the footway straight away afterwards. You know, so what was the specific road? Yeah, I'm fine if that's noted for Naz Islam, who's our head of street lighting, basically. So, was there a specific road or a specific area that was a point of concern?
No, it's just a point that we've had all our lampposts changed out. And if there are places where the actual light level, I thought most of our lamps were changed, you know, with saving power.
Yeah.
There was a big programme a few years ago where
it's LED conversion. I'm aware of that, but that is literally the limits of it, where I literally do not touch street lighting, unfortunately.
No, that's fine.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Joe, yep.
Oh, yeah, fine, sure. Is that all right? Sure.
George will probably go in a little while, so yes, please.
Portsmouth Road, down by the river. When you're in a wheelchair, and you have to go on riverside pavement, it's blinking lethal with all the delivery people tearing up and down at 40 miles an hour on their electric bikes. So I prefer to go on the other side, which the pavement, quite frankly, is a roller coaster. And when I'm not in my powered chair, it's almost impossible to bypass because there's an awful lot of trees that have lifted all the pavements up, and they are literally like little mini mountains trying to get over them. So I was just going to say, could somebody just put that in the list to be looked at?
Yeah, as an item of consideration, I think that's a very fair point. Thank you. But what I would say, it's unfortunate that with planned maintenance, there is nothing that is cheap, if that makes sense. As like the scary point to consider, that entire programme, 23 roads and 2 footways, is going to take up the bulk of the 1.75 million that we get. That is the scary point, that doing things of any size, it's unfortunate. It is not cheap at all. So it's like the most scary aspect of it, the 23 roads that we're putting forward, basically will get you under 2% of the total highway boundary that we have responsibility for. So it is an awful balancing act. As you could make a lot of argument for a lot of different things, if that makes sense. Yeah. Likewise, I'm at the end of a small cul-de-sac, and I can totally get it.
And I appreciate that bit of pavement's not a high-use track.
No,
There's another use
but
on the other side.
yeah.
The pavement in some places is lifted by, I would say, almost a foot.
Yeah. One thing I would advise, and it might, in fairness, I don't know the specifics of the area, but I would always do advise it, is if you feel it's a very localised defect that you could be resolvable, I would try reporting on the council's defects webpage, basically. Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole street, it's every tree.
Oh, fine. If it's every tree, different ballparks, sure. Yeah, fine. Yeah, no. I always do advise that because, like, the way we're looking at this, for instance, is subject to this programme being approved, we can't do anything before April. As you'll see in, like, Annex 1, some of last year's programmes still programmed for the fourth quarter. So with planned maintenance, it does take time to hit the ground. So if it's like a localised level issue, I would always advise reporting it by the council's defects webpage because, as I said, we've got about 350 kilometres of road to look at in the borough. By default, we aren't going to get every inch covered, and often people that live down that road or have to use it know that better than we will do. So, you know, it's only when someone gets notified of something. It's like with the council's gullies, for instance. They've got over 14,000 gullies to look at, and in the most lovely possible way, even though we'd like to know every single one of them inside out, chances are if you've got flooding outside your front door, you're going to know more about it than we are. It's like if you've got a pothole in your road or you've got uneven paving, as you suggest, always, if it's localised, I would try flagging it with defects. But in the case of this, yeah, that sounds like another road that we're aware of footway we're aware of in Kingston, North Kingston, where you do see it, unfortunately, you're getting tree roots are pulling paving flags up, which sounds like it's the case from what you're describing. Yeah.
Thank you, George.
Cheers, thank you.
Sorry, did I see another hand go up at any point? Oh, sorry, yes.
If you're doing major works on Somerset Avenue, I think you said for one of the three roads you're looking at.
Somerset Avenue, Hook Road to Selwood.
If it's major works, is there any scope to consider widening the corners? Because there's some big 90-degree angle corners there with larger cars, larger delivery vehicles, all the rest of it. They're always very hard passing points.
Normally, we just get in and literally just take the existing carriageway surface out and replace it with new surface. On occasion, we've been able to do stuff, but it depends on the nature of what it is. So I can't make a promise on that, but I'm not adverse to at least looking at it, if that makes sense. Like, if there's common sense thing, like on occasion we've done curb works just to facilitate something to make, as you know, when you can see the obvious benefit to something. So look, I'm not adverse to that. And like, what's the easiest way of taking it? Like, I don't know. If you want to put that, I'm possibly doing this the wrong way. If you want to put this by one of your ward councillors, to me as a member inquiry level kind of thing, we'll look at it in good faith, not an issue at all.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Depending on the nature of what it is, like as I said, can't make promises at this level, but I will look at it in good faith, not a problem at all.
Thank you, George. I will bring that to the attention of those needed. Okay, so councillors, colleagues, have you got any comments at all to pass over for George? No? Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you very much, George. We were just asked to comment on that proposed carriageway and footway maintenance, which I think we've all done. So appreciate your time this evening. If you wish to leave, you are more than welcome.
Thank you. If there's any questions at all, and like as I've said, if you've got a member inquiry level thing that you want to raise on carriageway or road conditions, always happy to take that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, George. So we'll go back to item 8, Community Manager's verbal report, and I think then we're running on with Richard for the rest of the evening. So I'll pass it over to you, Richard.
It's always good to be after really exciting stuff, isn't it? So, thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members and guests. Verbal report. I always think it's important this time of year to know sort of what your money's been spent on, really. So, if you'll indulge me slightly, I'm just going to go through the spends briefly. As you'll all be aware, there's £20,000 allocated to each neighbourhood committee for new neighbourhood grant applications of up to £3,000. 8 have been awarded by this committee through this year. I'm pleased to say that all £20,000 has been spent, so thank you very much, members. And that's a very enriched tapestry, really, from a needlework group, Ariadne's Thread Needle Group, Sunray Community Centre that's been mentioned already by Councillor Grocott, Voices of Hope, Namsty Kingston, CIC, Kingston Giving Oxygen, the Kingston Tamil Heritage Group had a very big event just recently, and Man and Boy, a local charity that deal with and support men with male children and their communication problems. So in addition to the neighbourhood community grants, each of these fine councillors in front of you get £2,000 to allocate on ward-based issues and support. And they're varied, so if I just go through and I'll do a summary at the end. So Hook and Chessington North, where we are now, contributions have been made towards Chessington District Residents Association, towards their memorial benches, celebrating 50 years of that fine institution. Thank you, and thank you for all the work you've done. The hanging baskets that turn up in North Parade, they do not come out of normal council budgets. If they're not paid for by these fine individuals, then you don't get any, and they're not cheap, let me tell you. And around the Christmas piece, I'm interested, and I'll elaborate on Christmas. Councillors do collaborate to put some Christmas lights along with local businesses, and I'd like to thank here at this meeting both Chessington Garden Centre and Chessington World of Adventure who help us. As you know, this year we centred on Hook Parade. We changed it from some big tree to some lights. I think the lights were very good and very effective this year, all working. Sorry, yes, North Parade. Everyone's going, I always get confused, sorry. How many years have I worked here? So North Parade, thank you for the correction, everybody. And there was obviously a little community Christmas tree at the end, the Moor Lane end, which we encourage by the Council for Children to decorate. And that's something we'd like to build on next year and bring it down towards Hook as well. And councillors did pay for a Christmas tree, but it was one inside the Hook Centre. So we know we need to go and do some more. I know as a neighbourhood manager, I need to reach out and get some more done for this area. If you have any ideas at all around Hook, please email me, richard.dean, D-E-A-N, at kingston.gov.uk, or in my absence, neighbourhood_managers at kingston.gov.uk. So that's Hook and Chessington North. Chessington South, Malvern, Russia. Chessington South councillors have contributed towards the Christmas lights. Obviously, the North Parade being the one of the two main shopping areas for the neighbourhood. As well as the hanging baskets, there are planters, of course, across Chessington South. Equally as expensive, but again, if councillors don't pay for them and they're planting during the summer season, we don't get any floral nice flowers. Chessington Square One Cafe, some of you may be aware of, provide meals for those in need, do a great job, in the Kingston Community Kitchen again at St Mary's Community Centre, so some great stuff there. King George's and Sunray councillors have provided support for and will continue to provide support for the Sunray Community Centre, and the latest iteration of that support will be to help fund a summer event which we're looking forward to. Community Garden in Signal Park, putting a contribution towards that, and probably the biggest project really are the installation, or we're trying to get the installation of some community planters in the Nomi Children's Playground. That goes between us and the bottom bit of Old Malden, and as some of you may be aware of, there's a little bit of a safety issue with some of the aforementioned bikes, battery operated, not whizzing through at a great speed and causing danger to those around. So what we're hoping to do there is build some physical barrier to slow everything down. So that's a little bit of a taster, not everything, but a little bit of taster of what your money's spent on. So just a few additional things to mention to me, and you'll be pleased to know it's one item short, because one was going to be the community safety survey, and that's already been mentioned. The libraries this week have a health week across all libraries in Kingston. Here is no exception. The first day of that has gone, but there are events and awareness groups for tomorrow and Friday around Better Bones, Family Drum Fun. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? And Warm Homes, Better Bones. So if you yourself would benefit, or you know anybody else would benefit, I know it's late in the day, but please have a look at those on the way out. Consultations, as ever, ongoing consultations other than the community safety survey, are all on our Let's Talk portal. A couple that are coming, or one particularly coming close to the end, is around our neighbourhood community infrastructure levy, and I know people have strong feelings about what that money's spent on and the process. That's open until the 23rd of January. So again, go online if you've got any views, any thoughts about how we can make that process better, more accessible, please let us know. And
The last one I'd like to mention is the Shaping the Future of the Drug and Alcohol Services project, which is open until the end of January. And finally, as I think they used to say on a comedy show somewhere along the line, I'd like to join some comments that have been made. Really, I would like to put my thanks to Sergeant Oliver Shearer from south of the Borough. I know some of you will know now that he's moving on due to the idiosyncratic nature, maybe one might say, of the promotion processes within the Metropolitan Police Service. That's not for us to comment on, I don't think, other than to suggest that what Ollie has done has moulded and got a team and done a very, very good job for the residents, visitors and businesses of south of the borough. So I'd like, Chair, if I could, to put my record of thanks on for Ollie.
Thank you. And as a committee, I'm sure the committee would agree, we would like to pass on our thanks to Acting Sergeant Shearer. He has brought together a team that has been a steady team, which we've not had in south of the borough for quite some time. And we really appreciate his communication with us all. I know that's been impeccable in most cases, and yes, I would like to pass on our committee thanks as well. You certainly may if you'd like to come forward.
On behalf of the residents and the Resident Association and our ward panel, I think he must be the best sergeant we've had for years. And I couldn't believe it when I got the emails to say that he's been reverted back to a PC in New Malden. And it's actually shown empirically that he not just did the job, he did a great job. And we had those issues with the motorbikes over at the Chessington Golf Club, and he liaised with the landlord and the agent, and he resolved that. And he's actually come to all the meetings, and I don't know what to say really, because I think it's just, I have written to Joshua Lawton and told him that I don't think they know what they're doing. But honestly, the person, I don't know who the person is who's coming. I'm hoping, obviously, we'll give him all the chance in the world to, but it's just that I can't believe that he's proved himself to be a good sergeant, and yet they've done this to him, you know. So if you can pass on our thanks to him, because I think I've spoken to him on email, and he's not too embarrassed to come along. You know, he find it very hard to come along, and I understand that, because I think he had a kick in the teeth, really. You know, and so thanks pass on our thanks to him. He's done a great job. You know?
I will do. Thank you very much, Mr. Robb. Thank you very much for that report, Richard. I'm going to go to item 9. Back to you for the Rangers report.
I'll be brief, as they say. So, members, the report details the context of all the work the Rangers do. I think most people know what work the Rangers do and how they help us. Everything from removal of abandoned bikes, popping along to a meeting or two with me now and again, fly post removal, graffiti removal, jet washing, etc. and so forth. So the report details the number of events that the South of the Borough Ranger, predominantly of course our most lovable Rodale, has done during the last 12 months. And what we've got there is 1,047 separate incidents of work, if you like, which I don't think is too bad for one person, really. The main 3 things that he does on a daily basis are the same as previous year, really. So it's fly tip removals, not including estate agent signs, not for the South of the Borough, they're not our problem. Graffiti removal, which, you know, we aspire to get rid of graffiti as soon as possible if it's in a public place, if it's offensive
in any way, shape or form. We try and get rid of it within 2 days. It's not always possible because it's about chemicals and about us having equipment, jet washers and stuff, but we try. And then the fly poster removals are the third highest thing. I suppose the only thing really to mention, committee, is that there's actually a reduction in the number of events that's dealt with this year, sort of down 250, but that's with the exception of New and Old Malden, that's common across Surbiton and somewhat surprisingly Kingston towns.
Thank you. Have members got any questions, Councillor Kirsch?
Really only a comment to say a huge thank you to the Rangers and Dale in particular for everything he's doing for the community. If you could pass that on.
Yeah, I certainly will do. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely agreed on that. Anyone else got a question or comments on the Rangers report? No? Okay, thank you. So we'll go to item 10. The next item on the agenda is the South of the Borough Neighbourhood Community Plan report. You can find the report at Appendix B, page 9 on the agenda. Richard, back to you.
Even I'm fed up of the sound of my own voice now, so I'll keep it brief. My challenge is to keep it on a page of A4, so I'll try my best. In the report that's made, I'm asking for that the neighbourhood plan for the south of the borough tabled at Annex 1 be approved and adopted at this meeting, as mentioned in key points A and B of that report. The purposes of the community plan is to assist with the decision making across the neighbourhood community meetings going forward, and specific mention, of course, is made of the community grants process, but it's not uniquely and singly those. The updated version of the plan tabled today, we must remember the original was in 2023, reflects the local priorities voiced by residents initially, going back between January and December 2024, and the main reflected submissions to something called the Dialogue Portal on the RBK website. I did a few visits to resident associations and received emails from interested parties. Now, whilst the initial consultation was that January-December, that Dialogue Portal actually remained open until November just past. Just a little bit of interesting fact, really, is that during all that time, that online capacity got 45 separate ideas from 18 individuals. So there's probably, as we go forward with a live document, there's a different way for me to look at engaging and supporting that. So it's important for everyone to remember that the document's a living document, and there's always an opportunity to review and update it each year, or even at the behest of the chair sooner, although a neighbourhood manager will then start to cry, to be honest. Following the adoption of the original plan, the council have adopted a new council plan 2023-2027 with the commitment in that plan to make the borough greener, fairer, safer by working together to forge stronger partnerships with our communities and partners, and to enable us all to achieve shared ambitions for our communities. Given this emphasis, it appeared prudent to me to try so far as possible to place those community ideas that I received, that can be seen in Annex 3, the diagram returns, into those strands, and this has been illustrated in Table 1 of the report. Annex 1 of the report is the plan, as is mentioned, which is tabled for adoption, and if you wish, Chair, I can read through the individual 12 aspirations, or I can leave it for questions after the supposition. So, finally, very pleased for everyone, but that finishes my overview of the community plan report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure that was shorter than a sheet of A4. Thank you. Okay, so I will now move the recommendation. Oh, sorry. Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Can I ask members of the public if they've got any comments at all on that report? No. Okay, thank you very much. I will now move the recommendations at the front of the report on page B1 of the agenda. Councillor Kirsch, will you second these?
Yes.
Thank you. So I will now open this item for debate. Please can members indicate if they wish to speak? Nope. Certainly, Councillor Grocott.
Thank you. Having read through it, it looks very comprehensive. I note that there aren't any specific items that have been referenced in the feedback, more generalised comments that would incorporate those items. Is there any particular reason why we haven't mentioned anything specifically?
Yeah, as I mentioned just there in the preamble, I was trying to assimilate the ideas onto the themes of the council plan, and also, to be honest with you, I suppose an idea is I didn't want to handcuff the committee into, or railroad committee into individual locations or projects, but I think the themes are more helpful when they come to committee, that we can discuss whatever they are and then put them into those themes. That was my aspiration.
I think that's a fair point, and I would just add to all the contributors that all those things that were said about particular areas can be still included and commented on, and we can take on in terms of the community funding under the general heading. So by all means, by anything not being mentioned specifically, it doesn't preclude any of those projects from being brought forward for further funding or for particular attention.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case, and as you'll see in the some people even might recognise their artwork if you see in the redacted appendix that's got the dialogue information in. It does mention, or the public contributions do mention, specific areas.
Any other comments or questions? No? Lovely. Okay, thank you very much. So the recommendation is that the committee is asked to resolve that the updated South of the Borough Neighbourhood Community Plan as set out in an Annex 1 be approved. Can we agree this unanimously? Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the the work programme on item 12. The update is for members' information. Where was item 13? Okay, so the next item is for urgent items authorised by the Chair. There are no urgent items, so there being no further business, the meeting is now closed at 9:37. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone coming along this evening.